Are we ready? Okay. Good morning, Marshall.
Good morning.
Thank you to Bill for having me back again for what year is this now? 4 or 5? I don't know. It's a thing. You can't get rid of me. Real fast, I did want to thank my patrons. If you're looking for the slides to this talk or any of my other talks, they are on my Patreon. Feel free. I put everything out there for free. You don't have to pay for it. I just needed a platform to distribute, and this is the one I picked. So, some of you are probably wondering why we're talking about professionalism and etiquette in an infosec conference. And I wanted to share something that happened recently that really kind of provoked me to do this talk. I was sitting in a room with a bunch of C-suite executives, because I'm at that level now, and we were discussing staffing a project. And we had some candidates, and we'd worked with, I think, all of them before, and we were trying to decide who to ask back. Now, when they were talking about each person and who they wanted to come back, I think you might be surprised to know that the person they wanted back the most was not the most elite hacker. And it was not the most technical person. The person they wanted back was the guy that had good skills. They were okay. They weren't anything to write home about, but he was professional. He was the person they wanted to work with. And there was even another guy that actually maybe was a little bit better qualified, but nobody wanted to work with him because he wasn't professional. He was very difficult to work with, and nobody wanted to, quote, babysit him. Okay? And I sat listening to these people go back and forth talking about who they wanted on their team and why they wanted this person. They were almost in a fist fight over this one guy because he just knew how to use a calendar, and that got them so excited because he was on time for every meeting. And so I thought it was something really important because I hear folks talk a lot these days about, oh, well, I'm not going to apply for that job, or I'm not qualified for this. I'm like, if you can walk in and present yourself in a professional manner, and you have a reputation of being a professional individual, there are people that will want that before they want any sort of elite hacking skills. Okay, and I'm being honest. I was sitting in the room when this was being discussed. And the one guy they wanted, again, he was the professional. And just over and over, oh my gosh, he's great. When I ask him to do something, he does it. You know, if he has a question, he asks. If he needs clarification, he finds me. If I say I want to do something, he takes initiative and does this. You know, everything they were going on and on about this guy had nothing to do with technology, and it had all to do with what kind of professional he was in the workplace. Okay? And these were college interns, by the way. So this wasn't even like a full-time big, it was like, who do they want to come back and potentially look at employing further in the future? So keep this in mind. This is why this talk came about, because then I started kind of shopping the idea around to some of the folks at my level in infosec, like, I was thinking about doing a talk on this, but I'm not sure if anyone, he's like, and they're all like, oh, please do the talk. Because over and over again, the biggest struggle I hear from my peers with their staff or their teams is unprofessional behavior. And at the end of the day, you could be the most elite hacker in the world, but if you're a train wreck and nobody wants to sit in the same room with you or spend time with you or be around you, you're not going to have a job. They'll just wait for you to drop it at DEF CON, they'll watch the talk, they'll get the white paper, and they'll fine, I'll get this guy who's really smart and is professional to understand what you just did, and he'll do it for us. Okay, so keep this in mind that moving forward, just as it's important to have good skills with PowerShell or Metasploit, you need to have good skills as a person, okay? And bring that to the workplace, and that will set you ahead of so many other people you may be competing with that have similar skills. That's what's going to set you above a lot of other people, is just bringing that professionalism. So, in the About Me vein, I actually am one of the advisory board members with the National League of Junior Cotillions in my area. And for those not familiar with that, it's an organization that tries to work with kids from kindergarten up through high school on all sorts of things like manners, introductions, how to pay and receive compliments. Bill and I were just talking about this. basic etiquette. As you get older, they go into things like telephone courtesy, receiving lines, participating in group settings. One of the biggest things I hear from people with anxiety is they get very anxious in social settings because they don't know what to do. They feel awkward. No one ever taught them how to social. Okay, so this is one of the fantastic things we do here. And then when you get on, this is my beautiful daughter. She just was the first, she did her first debutante ball as a pre-deb this year. But they go into things like interviewing for scholarships and jobs, handling peer pressure, and other adult sort of things like paying your taxes, taking out loans, dressing for job interviews, etc. And then they have another program. If you have kids or something and you're interested, they go into the cotillion debutante presentation, where they take young ladies and young men and you do more, you do things like 5Ks, and you do a senior citizen ball, and you learn how to work together as a team and organize things and talk to the public and things like that. So it's kind of a like growth into leadership type of thing. And they have a corporate cotillion. So if no one ever got it when they were a kid, you can still get it now. It's never too late. Never too late. Marshall, on April 10th, is having an etiquette dinner. Okay? Your own school gives you this pretty much, I think, for free. I think you got to pay $5 to reserve the slot, but you get it back. Okay, let me tell you a secret, kids. If you go to cotillion, it costs money. I love going to my daughter's cotillion because I can brush up on my own stuff and I don't got to pay twice. I just pay for her and then I sit and listen. This is free. Take advantage of this while you're here. You will not regret it. I promise. April 10th, and Bill tells me they do it every year, right? Yep. You will, if you start doing these things, if you get into these environments where you're allowed to practice, and where everyone feels stupid the first time, but when you start to practice and you practice with other people that are worried about feeling stupid, all of a sudden, magically, you feel a little better about it. It gets easier. So, okay, Tess, why? You had that little talk at the office. Great. Career Builder did a survey. I think it was 2015. And 77% of the people that responded had witnessed childish behavior by colleagues or bosses in the workplace. 77%. The top complaint was whining. 55% of people in the workplace that responded to the thing have watched other adults in the workplace whine. Myself, I've seen it. It's not pretty. It's ugly when you're 3, but everyone kind of goes, they're 3. When you're 30, it's not pretty. Pouting when they don't get their way. I can't share certain stories, but let's just say I've watched people twice my age pout when they don't get their way. Start rumors about a coworker. Mean girls, anyone? You can't sit with us. Okay? This still happens in the workplace. And these people are toxic, and you will encounter them if you have not already, it's like it doesn't go away with some people. I have people that are in their 60s that I've watched do this. You'd think it'd be done by them, but it's not. Storm out of the room. I had a dev one time, not getting his way, stand up, push everything off the table, grab his laptop, and storm out of the office like Scarlett O'Hara. Okay? And we all just kind of sat there like, okay, this guy's in his 30s. Throw a tantrum. Yes. Tears on the floor. I've seen it. Okay? 27% of the people that have responded to this have seen it too at work. Refuse to share resources. Does everyone remember when you were a kid in the sandbox and your mom was like, you need to share the dump truck, Timmy? Timmy's 40 now and he still ain't sharing the dump truck. Or it's something else now. It's something you need for your project, or it's something your team is supposed to share with another team, or it's something he's like, if you can't use it, then that means I get ahead of you. It still happens. So that kind of brings me to the topic of courtesy. And I was a little nervous about trying to talk about this because I know this is going to be a very touchy subject, but I'm old and I'm just going to do it now. So who here's taken an anthropology class? Anyone? Okay, if you have not taken one, I highly recommend an Anthropology 101. You don't have to take a specific anthropology of the Northern Semitic whatevers. Just take a general anthropology class. And the reason I think it's important is because anthropology is the study of humans and human behaviors and societies in the past as well as the present, okay? And there's different breakdowns. There's social anthropology, there's cultural anthropology, there's physical anthropology, like with bones and stuff. But the most important thing you're going to learn from anthropology is we're different. We really are. Look around this room. Do any of us look exactly like the other? Do you think any of us were all born in the same city? The same town? Were we raised in the same families? We all come from different places, and we have different backgrounds, and we have different things that have happened to us in our life that make us who we are. And that's what makes us different from each other, okay? So by understanding this, it helps you be more courteous to others, I think. Because if you assume everyone is just like you and thinks like you and does like you, that's making assumptions, and that could cause very big problems later when you're trying to communicate. So keep that in mind. We all are different, okay? Cultures. This is huge. Where I work, we do certain kinds of business travel where we have to go to countries that may not be as pro-women, or, you know, they have different customs that are just foreign to us. And we have to go through training so that when we hit the ground there, we can be respectful to that country and to the people that live there, you know, by not blending in so much, it's just being considerate to how they do things there and not trying to impose our American ways or our American rules or American behaviors on them, okay? Because we're a guest in their country. Now, a lot of times you'll have people that come over here from other cultures, okay? We are the melting pot, and this is a good thing. Where I'm finding that we're having big communication issues is when we don't understand that other cultures are different, okay? And they will bring their own culture with them, just maybe not knowing any better. And I think one of the best examples is personal space, okay? I know that in the past I have had some gentlemen from other cultures, and I know in that culture, their idea of personal space is very different than in America. And so when they talk to me, they get very close. Not in a disrespectful way, not in a I'm a creeping on you way, just simply in a, oh, this is where I stand when I talk to somebody when I'm in my country, okay? And that's completely normal to them. Unbeknownst to them, in our country, there's a little more space sometimes between people. And in other countries, there's even more, okay? Before you assume that somebody is being disrespectful to you, or before you assume somebody has some like malicious intent towards you, take a deep breath, step back, and try to understand where is this person coming from. Sometimes they really are just a creeper. But sometimes it really just is like, it's just a different set of rules where they came from, and they're oblivious to it. So try to be sensitive to that. Which brings me to protocols. So we're all, what, everyone's infosec here? Infosec, computer science? Okay. So I tried to go with a framework that would make sense. So you know what protocols are, right? That's what makes things talk to each other in a language they can understand, right? Okay. Not everyone's had their coffee. Believe it or not, that word existed before computers did. Got mind blown, right? Protocol is a word that that the people that created computer protocols used because it made sense. It's a communication term, okay? So when you talk about etiquette, a lot of times you will talk about protocol. It's actually, if you've ever been in the military, they will talk about protocol because it's kind of their fancy way to say etiquette in the military. I guess it sounds more manly. So professionalism, okay? It doesn't mean wearing a suit or carrying a briefcase. It means that when you conduct yourself with responsibility, integrity, accountability, and excellence, okay? It's when you can talk to somebody and communicate what you have to say in an effective and respectful way, okay? Employers out there now, they're getting tired of dealing with people that are unprofessional, that are constantly bringing drama into the office. When I have to stop everything one day and spend 3 hours walking someone through a petty irritants because they don't like that someone wore the socks that they did, because they felt the socks were disrespectful because they had a cow on them and they're a vegetarian. It's like, we need to stop. This is not, you know what I mean? Professionalism, a lot of people are struggling with it right now. However, I do want to make a little point. Don't confuse manners and etiquette. Does anyone know the difference? You nodded. What's the difference?
Shaking head, I'm not real sure.
Yeah, she slid down because she knew I was pointing at her, but you answered. Okay, so here's the difference. This is what my mama taught me. I'm a Southern girl. Bad etiquette is using your dinner fork to eat your salad. Bad manners is pointing out to someone that they're using their dinner fork on their salad. Okay? Not everybody is going to know what to do all the time. Okay? Making them feel bad about it, or making fun of them, or attacking them, putting them down for it, isn't how you do it. I was at the debutante ball, and there was a gentleman there for his daughter. He was a farmer, a cow farmer. Never been in a suit before in his life, I don't think. He was so uncomfortable, and you could tell. And one of the gentlemen there, he's a businessman. His wife is one of the directors. You know, he's probably born in a suit and will, you know, takes a bath in a suit. He's like that kind of put together man, kind of like Bill. And fixing his ascot. He noticed this man looking alone and very uncomfortable, and he went over to him. And when you go to the deb ball, they have like a thing of gloves because the men wear gloves too, and they have the pocket squares. And he noticed the man didn't have a pocket square, and he's like, "I'm so glad you got here in time. We were almost out of these." And the man, of course, is so confused. He's like, he's a farmer. He doesn't know what a pocket square is. And so the gentleman was just like, "You know what? The girls just taught me a new way to fold it. Can I show you?" And he took one of the spare pocket squares and he folded it really nice. And he goes, "And you just tuck it in your pocket like that." And he put it in for the man. He didn't make the man feel bad that he didn't have a pocket square. He didn't make him feel bad he didn't know how to fold one or put it in. He graciously let him save face, helped him out. And then on top of all that, he could tell the man was there by himself. And he said, "Why don't you come over here? I'd like to introduce you to some of my friends." And he just assumed him into the group, okay? And by the end of the evening, that farmer had some new friends. And he felt much more at ease because someone took the time to have some manners instead of pointing out when someone didn't have etiquette, okay? So, we all know what the CIA triad is, right? Please tell me you've learned this. Yes? Yes? Okay. What is it? It's confidentiality, right? We want to prevent unauthorized disclosure of information with our systems, right? Right? Y'all are looking at me like, I think I know where you're going with this, Tess. What about integrity? Right? And availability, this is all infosec. We know this, so let's take this and just pull it right into professionalism, because it works. If you can remember the CIA triad for work, for your computers and your systems and your networks, you can remember it for you in a professional way. You look like you don't believe me, but I'm going to convince you. Are you ready? So let's do confidentiality. Okay? In the workspace, and even in your personal life and your family life, avoid gossip and don't spread rumors. Okay? It's one thing if you have a security clearance and you need to report certain data on a person because you're obligated to do that per an agreement you've made, it's another thing to run around and go, guess who Susie was kissing behind the building, right? When you don't gossip, when you don't spread rumors, people will tend to see you as somebody that can keep a secret, right? That can keep their mouth shut. Now, caveat, if it's a secret, it's like we tell little kids, if the secret is about something dangerous or that will hurt people, that's a secret that needs to be told, okay? But if someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm really struggling, my wife just had a miscarriage and we do that, and, you know, that's not something the whole workplace needs to know. That was something told you in confidence. And even if someone tells you something and you're not sure, ask them. I've done that. Sometimes people could just confess things to me, and I'll like, not that I would go tell anyone anyway, but just to make sure, I'm assuming this is not something you want spread around, right? Just confirm with them that this is something that they have not told everybody else. It's not common knowledge, and that they would prefer that you keep their confidence. It's an easy question to ask, and it will make you feel better because you know, okay? If you do have information that you need to distribute or share, make sure you have consent or authorization before you share it, okay? Whether it's your company data, whether it's, you know, something with your family, you know, maybe your dad got a new job, but he doesn't want everyone to know because he hasn't quit the other one yet, and he's trying to do it in a professional way, but then you go tell your friend, and then they tell this, and it comes back to the guy that runs the company, and there's a big problem. You know, respect that. Respect others' privacy, okay? Avoid discussing sensitive information in public areas, okay? Avoid bragging on social media, discussing confidential things. And if you do have information that's sensitive or proprietary at work, make sure you dispose of it properly, okay? We actually dumpster dive at my office, and we'll look through the trash to see, like, are you actually disposing of things properly, or are you just too lazy to use a shredder, okay? When you can show an employer and your team and your client that you are someone that can keep a confidence and be trusted, that's a good thing. Confidentiality. Let's do integrity next. So how would you demonstrate integrity? Integrity essentially is acting in a way that's consistent with your character and your morals. Well, if you don't have good morals, I guess it is integrity if you have bad morals and you act with them in the true sense of the definition, but we're trying not to have the bad ones. So one of the biggest complaints is people just not being on time, okay? And when you're not on time for something, you're showing an incredible disrespect to the person who's done an event or created something. Obviously, traffic happens. We all know it, okay? Last night, I almost wasn't here this morning, okay? Last night, I was very concerned because to me, it would have been very unprofessional not to show up here when I said I would be. It was like, do I get a rental car and drive through the night? Because I'm a professional. I would be here when I told him I'd be here. But I had his number out, and I was getting ready to call. You replied on Twitter, so you knew. But I was in contact with Bill last night to let him know what was going on, because through no fault of my own, I might not have been here. Okay? It happens. But if you're the person that just never shows up for anything on time, it's like people, it makes you look bad. Okay, it makes you look like you don't care. Okay, do you like it when other people don't care about you or what's important to you? That doesn't feel good. Do you like having people around you like that? Do you tend to like pick up the phone and go, oh, hey, I want that guy around that doesn't really care? No, people want people around that are going to care. Being on time shows that you care, okay? That you're respecting the person that took the time to do whatever you need to be on time for, okay? Follow through. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't do it, circle back and reconnect, okay? I have a big project I'm working on, and then something dropped with a client, and that just out the window. Didn't happen. So when my boss lady came over and we were talking, and I have this big whiteboard and I have sticky notes, I have a hot, warm, cold thing. I'm crazy organized. And she's like, you know, is there anything you need to talk about? Because we're constantly, like, once a day, we just have a quick 5-minute talk. I said, that's bugging me because I told you I'd have that done. It's not done, and it's frustrating me. I am so sorry, but I need to circle back on this one with you. And she's like, oh, don't worry. You know, we were all doing fire drills and I get it. I'm like, yeah, but I told you I'd have it done and I didn't. So let me recommit to this one and push it out. And I did. I'm, you know, working on it now. But follow through. Do it. Explain why you didn't do it and get back on it. Or if it's something that just has become irrelevant, because sometimes things do, and that's one of the great things I love with my boss is we are constantly checking base, because I'll have 6 things on my list that need to be done, and then something will happen next week, and then suddenly those 6 things don't need to happen. They're just going trash now. Okay, but that is part of following through, is I will sit down with her and go, okay, it's my understanding X. That means I can take all this off my list and shove it. And she's like, yep, confirmed, followed through, done, closed it out. Being consistent with your word and your actions. This is called not being a hypocrite. Okay? If you don't know what the word means, look it up. If you are constantly expecting everybody to have a certain type of behavior, but you don't have that behavior yourself, that does not show integrity. That just shows hypocrisy. And integrity in a lot of places has been considered the opposite of hypocrisy. Okay? If you say all people should X, you better be doing X yourself. Or you need to not be saying that. Okay? Or if you are saying it, like this year, I think Bill saw it on Twitter, I made it a goal to not swear as much. Okay? How can I talk to people and say, hey, you know what, you'd look more professional if you'd stop swearing if I'm like a blue streak everywhere? It's not easy, especially when you're old and you've been swearing all your life. It's not easy. But I'm working on it, okay? Because I feel like that shows I have integrity, okay? Because I'm staying true to my word. Being considerate of others, keeping your promises. That's one thing my mama taught me. Don't make a promise you can't keep or you won't keep. Don't do it. Okay, and if you can't keep a promise, sometimes it happens, talk to the person you promised and say, hey, I can't keep this promise. This is why. How can I make it right? Or can we, you know, reschedule, or can we do something different? But just be honest and keep your promises. And if you can't keep them, be considerate of who you made the promise to and work out a solution. Okay, that shows integrity. I would much rather have someone call me and say, oh my gosh, I can't do this, an elephant fell on my mother and she's dead, than just not show up. And I'm left like, are they okay? Do I need to call hospitals? What happened? Did they get kidnapped while they were jogging? You know, you put somebody on the other end in a bad situation when you just blow them off, okay? So communicate. And again, it takes us to communication, okay? Stealing or taking credit for another's work, always bad. People will see you do that. It gets talked about. We all talk. And when we see people doing that, we tell others we see it. Okay? And we notice it. We may not talk about it like in public and call you out, but we know and we talk and we're like, yeah, I don't want to work with that person, because that's what happens every time. And my boss was funny. We were sitting at the table the other day and we just did something really amazing at work. We were the first people to have ever done it. And I can't say what it is, but we were the first. And so my boss said to me, and my boss lady, who is my partner on the project, he's like, you guys are amazing, and they're going to do this thing for you guys, and my boss lady, the first thing she said was, well, I really didn't do anything. It was all Tess. And I'm like, well, I didn't really do. I mean, it was Eric and Drew. I mean, they did all this, and then it was like, well, yeah, but we couldn't have done it without Jeff. We sat there the whole meeting, like making sure everyone got the credit for what they were just trying to give us credit for. Because the truth was, we didn't do it all. We did a little piece of it. But we made sure everybody got the credit. Okay? Availability. So this is an interesting one. And this is a big one, especially a lot now with folks in social media and the smartphones and things. When you're in a meeting and someone's talking to you, give them eye contact. Listen to them. There are some people that do better listening if they're doodling or doing stuff, and a good speaker or a good boss or just anyone who's good with people understands that not everybody listens and assimilates the same. Some people have to like doodle or write or do something while they're listening, and this is known. But occasionally do pause. Like, let us know you're present, that you heard everything, and that you're not going to come to my office in an hour and go, what did you say? That's disrespectful to me and my time. Okay, you want to be available. If you have electronics, one thing I do now, and I've started doing it, I've started doing a lot of new things this year, but when I go into a meeting, I leave my phone at my desk. It's not sitting there chirping and going off like a disco, and I'm not getting interrupted. You have my full and present attention for that meeting, because you deserve that, right? You don't deserve to have me checking my phone every 2 seconds, or, oh, hang on, I got to get this call. Guess what? They can leave a voicemail. I want to be available to you, but when your employers know you're available to them, that makes a big deal. That's remembered, okay? Avoid not my problemitis. That will shoot you in the foot faster than anything else, is when you're like, no, my problem. Well, it's going to be your problem if maybe you don't help us do something about it, okay? Sure, there are some times where you do have to say, I appreciate that this is a problem. Let me introduce you to the person that's going to help you fix it, okay? There are ways to say no. There are ways to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But as one of my old directors, he was actually the former security director for the NRO. Fantastic man, learned so much from him. He told me, he's like, never tell me no, tell me how. So that's what I do. The answer may be no. The answer really may be not my problem, but I'm never going to say that to you because it's kind of rude. It shows I don't care. It shows I'm not being considerate of your concerns. So what I'll say is, you know what? I think that is something I'd be worried about. You know what? This is what I would do if I were you. This is who I think you should talk to. Let me see if I can connect you to that person. And that way you maintain your integrity. You maintain your, like, this is not in my swim lane. You don't get pulled into everything that you really don't need to be dealing with, but you do it in a respectful way, okay? Consider an organizational tool. I have this timer up. Has anyone heard of the Pomodoro method? Pomodoro method's really awesome. They actually have apps on your phone. They got an app for everything. And it was funny, my boss lady and I actually have the same app, and we didn't realize it, and we didn't even know we were doing it, and we were both sitting at our desks, and our timers went off at the same time, and are you using that? Yes, I am. It's really neat. This guy, you can read about it online. It's called Pomodoro, like Italian for tomato. And it is called that because he used a tomato kitchen timer when he started doing it. But what you do is you set this timer, and I think it goes for like 20 minutes. And you set that timer and you do your thing for 20 minutes. And when the timer goes off, you take a break. You get like a 3-minute break. And then the timer goes again, heads down 20 minutes. And so after you do like 2 or 3 of them, I think 3 or there's like a set number you do, and then you take a longer break. It's like a 20-minute break, okay? And by there's thousands of organizational tools. It's one I like because it kind of gets you doing in little spurts. So you're available. You're paying attention. You're focusing on the work. You're not multitasking all over and getting distracted by Facebook and all that kind of things. There's also tools for helping you not be on Facebook or anything distracting online. You can actually get them to help you study. And finally, be a good team player for availability. So that is our CIA professionalism triad. Ta-da! You like how I did that? Pretty good. So just like we want our systems to be kind of in line with this, as people, we want to show others that we can be trusted, just like we want to be able to trust our systems, right? So, Etiquette. I've had people ask me to talk about this so much it's not funny. I am on Twitter. I know when you share the memes and the cats and the posting and all that. I promise I wouldn't say bad words, so I can't say the S word. But with your friends and you're joshing around, yeah, I do it too. We all do it. But when you're in a professional environment, okay, you want to kind of keep that out of the picture. These are things I teach my kids in cotillion when we're talking about online etiquette. The first question is what you're about to say, reply, comment, add, is it necessary? And I love this cartoon because it's funny. You get people in meetings all the time. You're talking about this, and then they ask you a question about, like, oh, can we stay on topic here, okay? Ask yourself if what you're about to say or type or respond, is it even necessary? If it's not necessary, you don't need to say it, okay? Is it exemplary? What does that mean? It means, are you portraying yourself in a way that you want to be seen? You may not know this, but you can whine an email too, okay? Do you want to be the whiner? Or do you want people to not maybe see you like that? If you're not sure, if you have any question in your mind, don't hit send. Go to the bathroom, get a glass of water, think about it, and say, you know, maybe I don't need to be sending that. Thought-provoking. So if this is more like if you're posting something, you know, if you're like sharing something, we have corporate internets where you share like news articles and things like that, you know. Just think about what you're putting out there. Idealistic, you know, does your stuff show principle? Are you like, wow, this is a really awesome way to make crack in my basement? You know, maybe don't put that out there. Quotable. The way this was explained to me was, you know, if someone was quoting you to the press, are those the words you want them using? That the press is now going to like put out there? Okay, is it understandable? Okay, can people even understand what you're saying? You would be amazed at just the run-on, garbled, like, I'm not quite, like, were you asking a question? Or, I really can't understand what people are saying. It's more common than you think, okay? So go back over, and sometimes I tell people, read it out loud to yourself. Like, literally, read what you wrote down on paper out loud, and you go, oh, wait, that doesn't sound right. Let me reword this a little, okay? And think about your tone. When you're in written medium, people sometimes infer a tone that's not there. Certain words might be a little more, you know, provocative than others. Go back over and look. If your intent is to be provocative, but if your intent is not to be provocative and you're like, you know, maybe I shouldn't use that word because I know it's going to upset some people, maybe I should change it. Okay, I'm not saying you should be PC so much as just considerate of others. Okay, essential. This goes back to our hamster question. Is what you're saying even remotely critical to the situation or the conversation? Okay? You know, I've had very like back and forth emails with people on a deliverable that's due, and then they're coming back with like, where should we go when we go to Vegas? Where should we go to dinner? I'm like, could we put this in another email, please? Trustworthy, okay? People will sometimes type things in emails that I'm like, are you really saying this to me? Like, that's really sketchy, or that's kind of like, that's bordering on it. We're having an ethics issue at this point, okay? Everything you put in writing is in writing for forever. You guys know that now, okay? So think about, even if you're making a joke, I would, if I'm with my boss man and I want to make a bad joke, because we do it all the time, I will like go kind of in his ear, and we laugh and we're done. I don't put that in writing. Especially if it gets subpoenaed by attorneys in 12 years and someone's like, she wrote this in her email, that must mean. And I'm like, no, I was kidding. You can't tell I'm kidding in an email. So think about that. And then true. Is what you're saying true? Is it a gossipy rumor? Are you just like, don't do that. Okay? And then E, exactly what you intended. Overall, when you look at what you have to say, this is communications, this is English 101, is what you're trying to say in this letter exactly what you meant to say? Sometimes it's not. Again, go back and read over what you've written. Consider what you're saying. Consider your audience. When I talk to my devs, I don't talk to them the same way I talk to my administrative assistants. This is like apples and oranges, okay? I really have to talk to those groups of people differently. And I do. So I really do have to watch, because I have lots of different groups of people I talk to, so I really have to kind of read my messages very carefully to make sure that I'm going to come across right to my audience. Some things to keep in mind. Hygiene. Yep. Was it last year or the year before, besides Las Vegas, where someone made all the Lucite badge holders with deodorants in them? Someone actually made like hundreds of these badge holders that would hold a small travel-sized deodorant. Do you think someone did that just because they thought it would be funny? There's lots of funny jokes. I don't put that much work into them. Okay? Someone did that work. That tells you there was a need for that. Okay? DEF CON. Has anyone here been to DEF CON? Well, you. Remember the key cards that year where they had a different tip on each card? And it was like, eat a meal a day, get so many, take a shower. They actually had to tell people on your hotel room key card to remember to take a shower. Okay?
Skydog's thing is, what is it? 3 hours of sleep, 2 meals a day, 1 shower.
1 shower. You can take more. I give you permission. I give you permission. If you need more than 1 shower, and sometimes you know that you do, take more than 1. The point is, try to keep a clean and tidy appearance. I'm not going to tell you how many inches you're going to trim your beard. I'm not the Marines. I'm not going to tell you you can't have, I don't care what color your hair is. I don't care if your hair is 8 different shades of the rainbow. Please make it clean. I don't want to smell your hair from 3 feet away. Okay? Y'all think I'm kidding.
Well, it's kind of bad.
It can
it's
get...
not as bad as a game of convention, though. Game of conventions are far worse than that.
But see, those people come into the workplace the same way. It's not just like they go there and they're all funky for a weekend and then they go home and take a shower. No, they come straight to work and then you have to sit next. We have, I know my devs don't watch this, so I'm going to out one of them. If you're watching this, you know who you are. You can get that shit cleaned up. Ooh, I said the bad word. Got to put $1 in my jar. I had a woman, this goes into 2 with the perfume and cologne. Be really careful of this. Some people are incredibly sensitive to fragrances to the point of being allergic. If you have too much fragrance on around me, I will literally throw it in the trash can at my desk. I vomit from the smell. It just makes me sick. Okay? But I had my office manager, I caught her spraying perfume. And it was really like, ugh. And so finally I just said, you know what? Can we talk about this? And she's like, oh my God. She's like, I'm spraying the perfume because the guy next to her, his desk was so rank that the only way she could sit there was to put a screen of Chanel No. 5 up. Okay? And I walked over and looked at it. He had food there that I think was there when we moved in 3 years ago. 8,000 empty soda cans that were half full and full of mold. I mean, you needed a hazmat suit to go in his area. It was bad. It was so bad, I immediately got in my car, went to Home Depot, bought those big giant, like, what do you call them, the baking soda things and the deodorant. I mean, we looked like we were curling. We were shoving those in his thing. It was really bad. We finally had to get my boss man to have a talk with him about cleaning it up. Okay? I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying if you're on your way to work and you spilled some coffee on your shirt, we're all going to be like, oh my God. What I'm saying is, don't get to the point where it's just nasty. Keep your, body kind of clean, a shower a day, brush your teeth, please. If they feel like they have sweaters on, brush your teeth, okay? I don't even care if your teeth are discolored. I just make sure your breath is delicate as a daisy, Tic Tacs. Mints. We all keep a toothbrush and toothpaste in our desk at work, and we all go brush our teeth at lunch. It's just, you can do that. It's okay. Give you permission, right? Appropriate dress. This is, boom. This shirt that he has on, I don't know if y'all know the hysteria that shirt caused a little while ago on the internet. I love this shirt. I'd still need to buy one for me, okay? I love Adrian with all my heart. It does not bother him that he wears that. It doesn't bother me. However, if he was asking me what he should wear to the Pentagon with me when we went, I would say, dude, do not wear that shirt, okay? Just don't wear that shirt, please. Certain clothing is appropriate for certain environments. If you aren't sure, there are many places online that you can kind of Google. What I'm going to tell you is this. I know people that have some very flamboyant, artistic, creative costuming when they go to work. I know people that go to work in like full cosplay almost, okay? As long as it's appropriate for your environment, you should be okay. But remember context. When I was in college, I was a cocktail waitress. Okay? A tuxedo vest to here with no bra was absolutely appropriate for serving drinks on a Friday night in a cocktail bar. It is not appropriate for an 8 o'clock in the morning business meeting with a general. Okay? When you go to interview somewhere, ask them, what is your dress code here? I've worked at places where you don't wear jeans, period. That's like you can get written up for it. Okay? If we're doing an office move, khakis will be fine. No jeans. Okay? And I've worked in places where, quite frankly, you could come in on stilts in a bikini and they'd be like, woo, you know? It's really, you need to ask about that when you interview. You need to kind of look at what everybody else is wearing. Dress appropriately for your environment. Okay? I'm not going to go into what you should and shouldn't wear. Just look at your environment, be appropriate, and then be respectful to those around you. Okay? Clean up behind yourself when you make a mess. We had someone in my office that would go in the kitchen and they would make food and they would leave all their dishes in the sink and just walk out. And we were all like, who's going to clean that up? Because I'm not going to say the word because everyone argues over how you pronounce it, but I'm the CISO. I ain't doing your dishes. Okay? Walk your butt back in there. Do your dishes. Okay? We don't have a maid here to run around behind you and clean up after you. Okay? Make sure you tidy up after yourself. Especially when you're using a conference room. If you have a meeting in a conference room, don't walk out and leave paper everywhere and food stains on the table. Take 5 minutes to just tidy up after yourself so that the office manager or the person that's got to get people in for the next meeting doesn't have to do it. That's rude to her. Okay? Don't come to work sick. We understand sometimes that you get to work and you didn't know you felt that bad and maybe you need to go. But if you wake up in the morning and you're like trying to figure out if you've got Ebola, don't come into the office. Okay? If bodily fluids are coming out of your orifices in your head faster than you can attend to them with Kleenex, don't come into work. Okay? Because that's the skeeziest thing everybody says is when someone comes into work and they're like, oh, and everyone's like, oh my God, don't get near me. And then they touch everything and then everyone's like, oh. It's very, you get that reputation. It's almost like being unhygienic when you come in and you start doing your cooties everywhere. It's really bothersome. Please don't come to work when you're sick. Also, if you're really sick, it can make you do a bad job. One of my biggest screw-ups at work ever, ready? I emailed the salaries of my entire regional sales team when I was an ops manager. I replied all and emailed them to everybody. Because I was so sick, I found out later I had a double ear infection, double eye infection. Okay? But I was trying to be a good worker and come in and my boss was like, you need to go home. And I didn't realize I'd done it and they called me when I was driving home and I'm like, oh my God. So again, I did what I could to make it right. I called the network guys and they were able to grab the email and pull it back and nobody had opened it and we were like, oh. And my boss said to me, don't come to work sick. And so I think I got that sick again a couple years later and I called her and she's like, how sick are you? And I said, remember that time I sent everyone's salaries out? And she's like, oh, stay home. Okay. Not only is it disrespectful to people you work with, but you can make some pretty bad mistakes if you're feeling that bad. Okay. Learn from me. Okay. Just stay home. Stay home and get better. Do some work from home if they allow it. Did I finish that one? Be careful with humor. To this day, there's times where I'm so worried that we're all going to just have a big problem at work because some of my guys are they're really funny, but they are really inappropriate. We all have kind of grown up together. We've worked together for over 10 years. I love them like they're my brothers. They are my brothers, and I love them dearly, and we joke around, but we probably joke around in ways that if someone new came to the office, they would maybe have a big problem with it. So just be really careful with humor. If you're around people you don't know or people new to your team, you know, I had to have a talk with my guys. I'm like, I love you guys. We can joke like this. But when new people are in the room, until we kind of understand where they are with your humor, we have got to watch this or we're going to have a problem. And we don't want to do that. When you write an email, write it like it's going to everyone. Even if you're only sending it to one person that you think you trust, you don't know who they're going to forward that to. Okay? Just like the whole screenshot thing where girls were sending like, oh, hey, and it's like, oh, it deletes into like a minute. And it's like, yeah, well, how many screenshots did that go out, right? When you write a professional email or just any email that you're going to sign your name to, make sure you know it's going to go to everyone from CNN to your grandma. That's the kind of email you need to send. Don't microwave fish, ever. Okay? Just don't. Okay? Avoid sensitive areas of discussion, religion, politics, sex. Again, I'm not saying you have to be the PC police. My guys, we talk about all of them. But we've all known each other for a long time, and we can sit there after work. We have a bar at our work. We can sit there after work with a drink, and we can talk about some of this stuff. And we actually have some very fantastic conversations, but that's because we know each other. We know where we're all from, okay? I want my sysadmin, one of the most amazing men I know, he's black. I have had some fantastic conversations with him about like racial politics and all this. And we'll sit there and talk, and I'm like, well, what do you think about this? And he'll go, well, that. And I'm like, well, I never considered, that. And we'll have like really great conversations because we know each other. We're friends. We trust each other. We can have that talk. But if you don't know someone, don't be all like up in their face trying to have a talk like that. Okay? Just be considerate. They may not want to talk about that. They may not feel comfortable with it. They may feel threatened. They may feel like you're trying to find this out about me, so then you're going to fire me or, Don't have those discussions unless you truly know that person, you're actual friends, and you know that topic can be discussed with you as adults. Okay? Just avoid it. And then accept you're not always going to get your way. Okay? This is something we all should have learned since we were children. Apparently some people have not. You're not always going to get your way. Learn how to deal with that in a mature, professional manner. These 10 things require 0 talent and no money. Everyone can do these starting right now. Okay? Everyone can do these. You don't have to go to college to know how to do this stuff. Okay? YouTube has videos on everything. Okay? If you don't know about what your body language talks about, go out and learn. Okay? You know what someone's attitude does to you. Think about what your attitude does to them. Start thinking, being present, and understanding how your behavior affects others. And to those managers, supervisors, teachers, I wasn't sure who was going to be in the room today. Sometimes I have other professors and stuff. Leadership is an action. It's not a position. Okay? If you're trying to get to the top of something so you can have a title, you're doing it wrong. Okay? When you go out there, you could be the newest guy on the team, and you could be the leader because of your behavior, your attitude, your enthusiasm. Okay? Leadership is an action. It has nothing to do with what your title is. It has nothing to do with what your salary is, and it has nothing to do with what your position is. Okay? I love this quote from Steve Jobs. I actually have this framed in my office. Be a yardstick of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. This goes back to the integrity. If you are a teacher or a manager or a mentor and you want your people to have professionalism, you need to have it. You need to be the role model for them. Okay? Or you're just being a hypocrite and, just be quiet and deal with the people as they are. But if you really want them to grow and improve, show them that you're growing and improving too. Okay? Be that yardstick. So, takeaways. Professionalism is not a thing, but it's a combination of a lot of different skills. Okay? It takes time and years of experience to perfect it, but you're never going to be perfect. Bill and I were just talking before we started about how we're both doing stuff in our own personal lives to continue to grow and become more professional and to work on our manners. I started taking ballroom dance, taking speaking classes or just going to that dinner and learning a little bit, practicing shaking hands, things like that. There are people who may struggle with some of the like facets of being a professional because of the way they were raised or the environment they were raised in. They don't teach this in public schools. And if their parents didn't teach it, I've met people that have more money than Bill Gates that have the worst manners in the world. Okay? And I've met little kids who live in shelters that are some of the politest, most respectful kids you've ever met in your life. Okay? Some people are going to struggle with this. If you want to be a leader and you want to surround yourself with good people, acknowledge that maybe they need some help and be that person that maybe helps them fold their pocket square and makes them feel a little more comfortable when they want to work on stuff. Okay? To parents, leaders, teachers, managers, you've got to give your kids, your staff, your partner, you have to give people an environment where they feel safe to make mistakes and learn from them, and then have an opportunity to try again. Okay? Be cognizant of what people are capable of. If you have small children, they're only capable of so much. Okay? Don't have unrealistic expectations about what people are capable of, and do your best to help them grow, because everyone can grow. Everyone can. Okay? And to those that are working on these skills, as you go into the workforce, or even if you're older and someone's like, if someone's trying to help you learn and grow, be open to that. I know my own boss man. He's taken me aside a couple times and he's like, hey, when you did that, it's like, it's all right, but next time you really should do it this way. And I'll be like, all right, boss, got it, you know? Or he'll take me aside. One time I was saying something, he put his hand up literally, he's like, no. He's like, that's really not how you should be saying this. He's like, let's rework this because the way you're coming across is not attractive. He goes, let's rework this. I was being a little harsh when I shouldn't have. Okay, but he stopped me and said, you know, let's work on how we're going to articulate this because this is not a good way you're saying it. Accept appropriate constructive criticism and feedback. You will run into people that just want to nitpick you to the nth degree, okay? I'm not saying you have to sit there and take that harassment, because sometimes it gets to that point, okay? But if someone is a genuine good person, they have their CIA triad in place, and they're literally just like, hey, let me help you out a little and give you some advice, okay? Accept that. Try to grow from it and learn, you know, take that advice. And just take this one thing away if you take nothing else. Okay, because we have a lot of people right now that they're in a bad place in infosec, but in everywhere. Professional, honest critique of your work or your skills is not a condemnation of you as an individual. Okay, if you mess up, doesn't mean everything's over. Okay, you may feel like that inside, but that's not the case. Okay, if you mess up, take a deep breath. Own it, like I did when I sent everyone's salaries out. Say, what can I do to make this right? Do what you can do to make it right. In some cases, you may mess up so bad you lose your job. It happens. I didn't lose my job. I was lucky. Other cases, you know, you may have a boss that's like, oh, let me tell you about the time I messed this up. And they understand. Okay? I blacked out the entire Eastern Seaboard for 6 hours. This is nothing. Okay? And then my last advice to everyone is if you see people demonstrating good behavior and good manners, please don't get angry at them or make fun of them or call them out on it. Courtesy isn't so common anymore, and I'd like to see it go back to being common courtesy. You know, if someone holds the door open for you, I don't care what gender they are. Say thank you. And you can hold the door open for anybody too. And maybe they'll be gracious enough to say thank you. But if we see people who are struggling to show manners in this day and age, and all we do is attack them for it, it's just going to keep spiraling out of control and get worse. And I believe that is my end. Is that okay, Mr. Bill?
That's awesome. So when can you come back and talk to my third book? No, actually, this is a big part. We have a curriculum now. We learn about honor, integrity. You know, it's not all guzzle beer. At least we play with Chi Alpha.
Well, and one thing I want to put out there for the ladies, because I'm last I checked, I'm a lady. Manners aren't just for one person, you know, one gender, one, you know, manners are for everyone, okay? They're for everyone. And I was telling Bill about when I was at the debutante ball, and I saw a young lady drop her glove, and there was no gentleman around to pick it up and hand it to her like they were all taught, so another young lady picked it up and handed it to her. That's what it's about, okay? We often teach manners in a male-female kind of, you know, opposition, but everyone can do them all around. I can hold doors open for men. I can pick a glove up for a woman. If you see someone older than yourself, you can help them be seated at a table if they look they might need a little help, okay? You can all have manners, and you don't have to get upset with others when they have manners with you. So, and I'll stop preaching now. I would love to come talk with your fraternity, teach them the foxtrot or the Argentine tango. Maybe during Secure West Virginia next time? Maybe? We could have a little party at night. Could we have a cocktail party? Could we like totally shag retro? We should do like a retro shag cocktail party with like Frank Sinatra on the, well, do they have gramophones anymore? Little scratchy Frank Sinatra on. I could teach everyone how to foxtrot. We could even loop the karaoke guys in, and they could all sing like, "Would you like to swing on a star?" Right? Carry moonbeams. Yeah.